Hi, my name's Chris Lose. Thank you so much for joining us for Conversations with the Candidates 2024. This was a show originally created by Mr. Ralph Walker with the intention of allowing us, the community here in Monrovia, to get to know the people that we'll be voting for. The ballot comes, we drive down streets, we see different signs, we see names, but we don't get to know who they are. So for 30 minutes, we're gonna get to talk to each candidate, and I am very excited to introduce you right now to Janet Wall. Thank you for being here, Janet.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for inviting me.
She is running for treasurer, and you are the one who is currently serving as treasurer as well.
I am the current treasurer, yes.
Correct, cool. So, Janet, let's get started. Tell us about yourself for someone who might have just moved to Monrovia. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
Sure. I grew up in Glendale. I've lived in Monrovia since 1987. And it's interesting, as I was just telling Chris, until 2011, I just literally slept here. My jobs were in LA County, Orange County, Ventura County. So when I retired and I knew I wanted to volunteer, I was very happy to find out what a great place this is. So since 2011, I have volunteered with nonprofits through the city, and pretty much other than travel and hang out with my friends, that's what I've done. So I'm past president of Monrovia Reads, in all kinds of city programs. I was on the library board, which I had to give up when I became city treasurer. I was on the Measure K. I had to give up when I was city treasurer. Was interesting, the Monrovia Renewal Project, which was fascinating. I learned so much about that. And I'm now on the school board Measure MM meeting committee, oversight committee. So I try to get involved as much as I can to find out and help the city that I live in and absolutely love.
No, that's cool. When you were traveling, that was for work, and you were...
I traveled a lot for work.
Okay.
But after I retired, then I started traveling for me. So I love to travel.
And you're traveling, was that work in the space of finance or in the financial sector of work?
Okay, so let me give you a little background.
Please.
I've been in financial services for 45 plus years. Throughout banking, working for B of A, Security Pacific, First Interstate, and then I went to work for the Resolution Trust Corporation, which is a government agency that handled the failed savings and loans, and I ran a couple of big divisions in the Western region. And then, fun fact, that's the only government agency that ever sunsetted when it was supposed to. And then I went to work for a software development company that made software for credit unions. So I never got out of financial services. I just did different things with it. So I did that. I have a graduate degree from Colorado State School of Banking. So that was fun. Learned a lot about that.
Well, let me just say, I didn't know any of that, but now I also understand why it has always been a resounding, Janet's amazing. We're so lucky to have her.
I don't know about amazing, but...
Sounds great. Cool. So I was really excited to have this sit down and get to talk to you more.
Thank you.
Did you have any mentors that did it, or was it just kind of because you were doing it professionally, let me come do this here in my hometown?
Mentor for this job?
Yeah.
No, Steve Baker was a friend. And interestingly enough, we both worked for Security Pacific, never met one another. Completely different parts of the bank. But when he passed, I thought, I've got the skill set to help if they need the help until they can get a permanent treasurer. And so I volunteered. You're lucky if you get to work, and then when you retire, you can take all the information you've learned and the experience you have and put it to use for something bigger than a job. And I feel very lucky to be able to do that.
That's super cool. So I learned, let me think, this was in Miss Ty's personal and social living class in Monrovia High School. We learned how to balance a checkbook. That was about my extent of financial literacy for a lot of my life.
That's a good start.
It felt really basic. I wish I could have learned a little bit of investing, and I've learned way more now thanks to the internet and YouTube. But what is if you could or somewhat tell us what a city treasurer job looks like?
Okay.
What would that be?
I can tell you what I do. Steve and I had pretty different takes, even though I do a lot of the same things he did. There's some state regulations about what a city treasurer is supposed to do, and I can read those too if you want. It's probably not that important. Basically, what I see as my role is being the eyes and ears of the citizens of this city to make sure that we, as a city, are taking good care of the monies entrusted to us by us paying all of our taxes. So to do that, weekly I go in and I'm going to say sign the checks. They're all electronic now. But I look at every invoice that goes with every check to make sure that it has the proper authority to sign it. And it's been through multiple people before I see it. And then I check to make sure that if it looks strange, what is it? Why is it there? And certainly checks over 100,000 I hand sign. But that part of it is more the nitty-gritty detail. I do that every Thursday morning so the checks can go out on time. I try and attend every city council meeting that has anything to do with the financials. In case the city council has any questions for me. I promised when I was appointed that I would stand up before the city council and look them in the eye and the citizens of Monrovia in the eye and tell them the truth about what I found. I'm so pleased to say that our financials are in good shape. We have an administrative services department that handles them that is filled with the most professional people I've ever worked with. And I worked for a lot of years. They, to a person, take total accountability for their job and look out for the money in the city. It's just an amazing staff of people.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they have checks and balances. When I went for my orientation, I had a legal-sized paper of questions about policies and procedures that I wanted to make sure were in place. And so as Buffy is going through my orientation, I'm going check, check, check. And by the time we got done, I had no questions. Wow. And I'm a stickler for process and procedures.
It's important.
It is.
Especially with the finance.
Dot the I's, cross the T's.
Yeah. So for a city like, I know that, are we at A right now? Or was it in the rating stand? Or the financial? It's
an A. It was an A minus and then went up to an A.
So like, how is that graded, if you would?
Well, the rating agencies rate cities and businesses on a whole range of things about their financial stability, what is their process for maintaining their budget, are they efficient in what they do, are they in debt more than they should be, or if in our case our bonds, we all have sources of repayment for the bonds. There's a whole long laundry list of what they do.
Okay.
And that's supposed to give the public confidence in the ratings. And there's Moody's and a whole bunch of them, Standard & Poor's. And it's important because they look at how you run the city. You know, how serious do you take your financial security? And what are you doing to look out for sources of income down the road?
Right.
Because things change, you know, and if economy goes down, you're going to have less sales tax. We're lucky in California that our property values don't go down much.
Right.
And that's a huge source of income.
Yeah.
So all of that, and I have to shout out to the city council and Dylan and Buffy. They are very, very conservative in how they do things. If you look at the budget forecast, it is hold the expenses low and don't overestimate your income. You are much better off to be pleasantly surprised about more income than, we didn't get the money we thought we were going to get.
Right.
And that's no way to run your own budget, and it's no way to run the city budget when it's our money that they're spending.
Yes.
So I feel a great deal of confidence in that.
Wow. So income for a city is taxes.
Taxes, fees.
Fees would be like.
Well, so if you're building a new home, there's fees for that. There's library fees. There's fees on rentals of the different parks and the rooms and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so all those fees come into effect there.
Okay. Oh, got it. Okay, I never even knew that. So like, if the parks and rec are always rented out, that's good for the city.
It's absolutely good for the city. They're wonderful places to have weddings or parties or whatever, and it helps us. And believe me, they're not expensive.
Which is, for sure. Which is why that's great that the community center is being redeveloped and can be utilized in that capacity.
I can't wait to see the Kay Dalton room at the community center reimagined and brought up to date, because there isn't a big place like that room anywhere in the city until you go to one of the hotels, which are obviously more expensive, to have a nice event.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great idea to get it done.
Yeah.
That room needs a makeover.
It does. Yeah, for sure. So like, we talk about things on Myrtle Street, and I think of the music store and just businesses that have been there for so long and that weren't able to sustain. A lot of the time, obviously, the owner is raising their rent or their mortgage, and that's just what it is. Are opportunities like where the city could purchase buildings on Myrtle Street and then be aware or help curate good businesses? Is that something, am I talking crazy, like for imagining that something like that could happen and then that could be?
I think you're talking with your heart.
Okay.
And my 100%. Heart is right with you. I'm not sure that I would say that that's probably the role of the city.
Got it.
I think where the city can help is being a nice, friendly, efficient place for people to do business and make it easy to come here. And I believe that's the case.
Yeah.
I think more importantly, what we can do as citizens to make sure that our businesses are thriving is make sure we go to the businesses here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm as guilty as anybody to think, oh my gosh, I haven't been there in 6 months. And you think, oh, I'll go over here. Well, no, let's go here first.
Yeah.
And we just recently bought that building on Myrtle to use as a temporary community center, and then maybe later on if we do the city hall over. But this is really the city council's purview, so now I'm just talking about Janet. This is my opinion.
Yeah, sure.
That $5 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. I would hope that we didn't hold that for very long after our use is, unless there's a way that you could generate sufficient revenue to make it worthwhile to not use that money somewhere else. And it's all about the best use of the funds.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that it's important. We have a lot of money sitting on hand that we will be spending down the road, but maybe not today or next week or next month. So it's important that we invest that, what I'm going to call idle money, because we collect it ahead of needing to spend it. And that's one of the things that the city's doing is we just hired a contractor to help us do that, an investment firm. And we want to make use of the money we have as long as it's sitting in our coffers, just like we would want to do with our money at home.
Absolutely. Measure K, are you able to speak to those funds? I know it's like at 20-something million.
I think we're in the neighborhood of 16-ish million right now.
Okay. My math was bad. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Measure K, this is totally at the discretion of the city council on how they fund it. I think they've been good stewards of the money with all the unknown up at Canyon Park because, we could have been looking at $10 or so million that we had to spend. Right. They've worked so hard to get grants, to get insurance money, to get money back from the Fed. And so I know that they are looking to start spending some of that money because, again, Janet, speaking as citizen, we've all put a lot of money into that through our taxes, and we want to start to see some of the benefit from it. And they are spending some money on it. But again, slow is not always bad.
Yeah, sure. Local, as I'm learning with local spending and where funds can go to help, I look at our unsheltered folk in town. Are there rehabilitation centers locally, or is that more of a regional discussion when talking?
I think rehabilitation centers is more of a regional. I'm unaware of any that we have here in Monrovia.
Correct.
One of the things to be careful about with the Measure K money, and I believe as we talked about it in the very beginning, it was more one-off spending rather than putting programs in. Because once you institute a program, now you have those expenses ongoing.
Sure.
And could the city council do it? Absolutely. Yeah. But then you have to commit to those resources to sustain them. So that the longer term goals of some of the big picture things are things that have to be looked at very carefully.
Okay. So I feel like I'm talking to the perfect person for this question about a myth, a unicorn, or affordable housing. Is this a reality, or is it just something?
Define affordable housing.
Correct. And that's where I don't know how, because what is affordable for some is not for others.
Exactly. And it's tough. If you're a builder and you buy a piece of land and you want to put something on it, you want to make some money on it. But I can tell you in my whole life, I never paid $2,500 for a mortgage. Now I realize, money is more expensive now, and
Yeah, yeah.
people make more than I did back when I first bought a house. But the thought of $2,500 a month rent payment makes me crazy.
Right.
That's just ridiculous. No one will ever be able to afford to buy a house at that.
Yeah.
So that's a huge problem. I'm not sure what the city can do about that. I don't know. First of all, even with all the Measure K money we have, we don't have enough money to buy an apartment house and put it affordable
Yes,
housing.
correct.
How would we get our money back? So it's much bigger than we are.
Yeah.
It's a problem that somebody way smarter than me needs to figure out, because this just isn't manageable.
Right.
There's just no way a family can ever save enough money to buy a house
Yeah.
if you're paying that kind of monthly rent.
And you're looking at realistically like $4,000 rent
No way.
currently,
No way.
$3,500 rent, and I was like, whew.
You talk about being one paycheck away from a major problem. At $4,000 for your rent, that's just not doable.
Yeah. If you could envision one thing, you've been here since 87.
87,
So that's super cool. I got here in 89, my family around that time. What would you love to see? Like, always room for improvement in so many spaces, but you personally love to see done differently or better here in the city?
Here's what I would like to see done, and it's not that hard to do. I would like to find a way that we get every citizen in this community the knowledge about what's going on. And my big push is everybody needs to sign up for the weekly city manager's report. It's so easy to do. Just go on the website, go to your government, go to the city manager, and it's the second item down. That's how you find out what's going on. So that's the easiest thing to do.
Yes.
The email comes to you once a week. It's not like you get flooded.
Yep.
There's some great online things. Brad Haggard does a really good job with Monrovia Now of recapping a lot of the city manager's reports. You, with your recaps of the city council meeting and the school board meetings, are invaluable. Most people, me before I was retired, did not have the time to sit through a 3 or 4 or 5 hour city council meeting or school board meeting. I don't know about anybody else, but at the end of the day, I was tired, and that was more than I could do. So I would like to see us do that. There are lots of Facebook pages. I would caution people that some people have more knowledge of the facts than others when they respond, so take it with a grain of salt. And the MAP program, the Monrovia Area Partnership Program, which is a training program that teaches people how the city works and how to find things, and they educate people so that they can then go out and answer people's questions.
Yeah.
And finally, the best source of knowledge in this city council members are all knowledgeable. If they don't know the details you want, they'll get it for you or get somebody to call you. But Dylan Feek is a walking encyclopedia about Monrovia. And I'm not suggesting we all call Dylan with every question, because he does have a job.
Yeah.
But if you're on Facebook and some stuff starts to be answered that's kind of off in left field, you'll often see Dylan pipe in and say, here's what's happening, and if you need more information, give me a call on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he'll connect it. He's connected me a few times with like,
absolutely.
oh, well, here, call
Yeah,
so-and-so
right.
over here at this, or get a hold of them. I love it. I feel like you really did tap every different bit of information. His email, I agree with you wholeheartedly and will co-sign. That is the best. If there's a one stop for great information, that's every Friday. I know that day it lands, because I see it. I'd love to have that conversation further, because I don't like, how does that get aggregated to a space, right? All of it, because people are late to the party. Obviously, the people in Facebook groups tend to live longer in that world, so they're not
Right.
paying attention to the rest.
Well, and in defense of everybody that's not right up to date on everything, me included, a lot of things are discussed at the city council meetings multiple times.
Yes.
Before, let's just taste the Clean Power Alliance.
Yes.
There's a whole bunch of issues out there on Facebook about that, and it's the comments have been, well, when are they going to start to talk about it? I've been at least 2, if not 3 meetings where it was talked about. But until it lands in letter lands in your mailbox, it's not real, and I understand that.
Yes.
And so, Dylan, if you're listening or when you're listening, I think we need a town hall meeting about this to bring people together. But guess what? People have to come to the town hall meeting.
Yes. Town hall meetings usually take place where?
When Tamala and I were doing town hall meetings on Measure K to try and get the word out,
Yes.
we had them in the park.
I love that.
We had them at Station Square. We had them at Library Park. I think we had them at Rec Park one time. And we caught a lot of people that were just there having a picnic with their family, that wouldn't have been there. It's hard to get information out. We don't have a newspaper. If I could be queen for a day, I would find a way to have a newspaper and do it in conjunction with the school district. There's got to be kids that want to be journalism majors. Good for them, good for the community. Now, how do we get it out there? Is it emailed? I don't know. There's I hate getting everything via email because there's people that don't use email and they shouldn't have to use it. But I'm heavily involved in the nonprofits. It's hard for us to get the word out about fundraisers or, in the case of Monrovia Reads, book distributions that we're doing for kids.
Right.
And if we had a newspaper, there would be some way to do it.
Oh, do we have like a recycling center that recycles paper or something like that we could like partner with them, get the paper?
The recycling center we had that it was closest to us was down there now just on the other side of the Gold Line, and it's gone.
Okay.
But I never thought about that. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of ways. There's probably even grants for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be great. And I love incorporating the kids into it too.
Anytime you can get kids involved in anything, your families are going to be involved.
Yes.
And it's good for them. They need to see stuff about life.
Yeah, and most of them are smarter than us anyway.
For sure.
If you had an idea, I know with your situation is different. I'm having these conversations with mayors and council members, but I'd love to get your take on ways that you think we could bring more jobs to Monrovia.
I think the best thing we can do is look for businesses that are more than restaurants. And Myrtle is mainly the main drag for that. But I think the lab launch and that whole, I'm going to call it innovation center there on Huntington is good. I think it's a question of working with the chamber to go out and look for businesses to come in. Because we want to bring in well-paying jobs. And it would be great if we could bring in jobs and find a way to have the high school kids be interns. I mean, look at those kids over at Mountain Park that are the work-study kids, that they go to school for 4 hours a day, and then they do whatever their career path's going to be. What a great source of really smart people in our own community.
I love that.
So I would love to see us look for people or companies that would do that.
Yeah. Do we have, is there a sector of the city that, I don't know if it's recruit businesses or reaches out?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. In fact, I think I'll find out. But, I mean, obviously the Chamber of Commerce would be looking for businesses and encouraging through talking with their members. But I'm sure the city council members know people and are constantly looking, and I'm going to ask that question tomorrow. I'm having breakfast with Dylan. I'm going to ask that question tomorrow.
Awesome. I love that.
Sorry, Dylan.
Yeah, sorry, Dylan. If there was one thing, obviously we came up short with the All-American City this past year. But you've been here, I've been here, so many great things about the city. What's one thing that you would point out that you feel would make us an All-American City?
Well, first of all, I think we are an All-American City. I think other than maybe changing whatever the format is for what they're looking for that year, I think the thing that makes us an all-American city is that when there is something that there's a problem or a need that needs to be filled, especially if it comes to the kids, people come out of the woodwork. How can I help? What do we need to do? How can I help? Is there a fundraiser? Let me go. This city comes together. Look at Christmas when Steve Bray collects money and gives it to our citizens in need. I read on Facebook there was a family over on one of the hotels on 2nd Street, and they were having problems. And the word went out, and they collected, I don't know, from the pictures I saw on Facebook, it looked there must have been 100, 150 gift cards for them. This city cares about its citizens,
Yes.
and they reach out to help.
Yeah.
And if that's not what makes an all-American city, I don't know what it is.
You know, I'm so glad you shouted that, Janet. I've seen that too, and that's moved me like in a way. I was like, this is amazing to see people just pile in just because they care.
Yeah,
and
how
wanna
can I help? You know, a little bit from you and a little bit from me can make the world of difference to somebody that's in just struggling for now.
Yeah.
And that can happen to anybody at any time.
Yeah, yeah. This has been great. So we're just under 5 minutes right now. I want to ask you, is there anything that you would love to share with the community that we didn't talk about already?
I guess what I have to do a little spin-off then
Sure.
for the nonprofits in this city. There's some incredible nonprofits doing some amazing good. So since I'm sitting here with you, I'm going to do a shout out from Monrovia Reads. Monrovia Reads has been around since 2001, and our mission is to ensure that the citizens of this city know how to read and do read, and our main focus is on the littles. Let's get them going so that by the time they start taking those third grade tests, they know how to read. It's not a barrier, because that's what's going to hold them back in life if they can't read.
I love the little vehicle that pops up to it.
The mobile literacy van? Oh,
Yes.
isn't that fun? It makes me smile every time I see it.
It's cool because it's like it piques curiosity, right? And then it makes kind of like, well, let me grab a book out of here and see what this is.
Yeah, it's really cute. We love partnering with the library. Such an amazing group of people that staff at the library is.
And we do have an incredible library here in
Oh,
town.
the library is gorgeous.
Yeah.
But what makes the library is the staff. They're so creative. The things they did during COVID to keep people engaged was, every time something new came out, I went, okay, you can't top that. And next week they did something better.
Give me one.
Oh, they had all kinds
remember.
of games and they have it. Was it some sort of a scavenger hunt or something? And we Monrovia Reads gave them books as part of the prizes for people that did things. And
Love it.
and they created all kinds of new ways to engage with the kids and do story time online.
I love that.
I mean, you could park your kid in front of a TV and have Miss Annette read a story, and you could take a nap because the kid's going to be glued to that TV.
I'm missing that's awesome.
She's the best.
Yeah.
She's the best.
I would say that too. Yeah. She's incredible. I love that because I'm just a fan of like when you can innovate something and just make it a little bit better, but that's really creative and cool.
And for somebody like me that doesn't have that kind of creativity, I look at it and I think, how did you think of that? It never, ever would have occurred to me.
Yeah.
I think, well, good thing there's like people like you.
Yeah. No, but that is true. Like we do have, I'm just a fan of the people here in the community.
Yeah, me too.
You know, and I love seeing those moments of like Steve and what he does and just championing movements to help people.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those people in this city.
There are.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would definitely be. So how do we articulate that so they can make us an all-American city, which is
I'm not
the
sure how
amazing-
often they do that,
Okay.
whether it's every 5 years or 10 years,
Okay.
but I hope that we apply again next time.
I think we got to start stacking those stories.
Well,
we got a lot of them.
First we got to find out what they're focusing on.
Okay.
Because as I understand it, each
You're right.
time they do it, there's a focus.
You're right.
And if it's about kids or unity or caring for fellow citizens, we got it.
Yeah.
We have stories coming out our ears on that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this has been amazing for me.
Thank you.
I appreciate this conversation. Thank you for your time. And thank you so much for your heart to serve. Like, you doing what you do requires time. I watch the city council meetings now. I know they are not an easy lift. But just for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I
And
appreciate that.
especially with the expertise that you bring to that seat. That makes me feel amazing as a resident here, as someone from the community, like to have you there. So thankful for you.
Thank you very much. That's very nice.
Yes, absolutely. So with this last minute, the floor is yours. If you would like to look on into that camera and let the people here in Monrovia know why they should vote for you as treasurer on March 5th.
Well, I hope you'll vote for me as treasurer on March 5th because I have a background that leads me to do the job. And I promise you, as I did before, that if there's something wrong, you'll hear me at the city council saying that. And I am your eyes and ears watching your finances and the money you spend. So thank you.
Thank you again to all our candidates for joining us. Conversations with the Candidates 2024. My name is Chris Lose. It's been an honor doing this. Each candidate was reached out to and given the same amount of time to speak freely and let you know why you should vote for them on March 5th.